All right, today we're jumping into Genesis 14, and this chapter, wow, it's packed with action. We're talking kings, huge armies, a rescue mission that seems impossible from the start. But you know, the real heart of the story isn't the battle itself. It's about the profound choice Abram has to make after all the fighting is done. And it's a timeless lesson on the difference between worldly power and true faith.
I mean, think about that for a second. It's a question that kind of echoes through history, right? But here, in this ancient account, we get to see it play out in stunning detail. How does one man, a patriarch, just holding on to a promise from God, stand against the combined might of victorious kings? Well, let's find out.
The stakes here really couldn't be higher. This chapter has all the makings of an epic story. You've got this brutal war that ensnares innocent people, a kidnapping that makes everything intensely personal, and then one man's decision to launch a rescue mission that by all human standards should have been absolutely impossible.
So, to really appreciate Abram's courage, we first need to grasp the sheer scale of the conflict he's about to walk into. This isn't just some small skirmish. We're talking about a massive regional war, a real clash of empires.
So on one side, you have this powerful coalition of 4 kings from the east, led by a ruler named Chedorlaomer. These guys had dominated the whole region for more than a decade. And on the other side, you've got 5 local kings from the Jordan Valley, including, the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, who finally decided to rebel. It's a classic power struggle, really.
The rebellion, though, it fails. Big time. The invading army just crushes the 5 kings, and they all go fleeing. And the victors do what conquering armies do. They plunder the cities, taking everything and everyone. The situation looks completely hopeless for the locals.
And this is where the story shifts dramatically. For Abram, this distant political war suddenly hits very close to home. A survivor escapes and manages to bring him the news. His nephew, Lot, who is living in Sodom, has been captured and carried off with everything he owns. And that changes everything.
So what does Abram do? He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't form a committee or petition a higher power. He just acts. This is where we see his faith and his loyalty put into motion against what seems like certain failure.
318. That's it. That's the size of Abram's force. And this isn't an army of soldiers. These are trained men from his own household. He's about to go after a victorious coalition of kings with a handful of servants. The odds aren't just long, they're basically impossible. This isn't a military calculation. It's a profound act of faith.
But Abram's faith isn't passive. He uses brilliant strategy. He pursues the enemy army a great distance, he waits for the cover of darkness, and then he divides his small force for a surprise night attack. He strikes decisively, routing the enemy and chasing them even further to make sure it's a total victory.
And the result is nothing short of miraculous. Abram succeeds completely. Lot is rescued. Every single captive is freed. Every last stolen item is recovered. Now, this was no lucky break. This was a divinely empowered victory against an overwhelmingly superior force, a direct answer to one man's faith.
So, the war's won, but the story is far from over. In fact, you could say the most important part is just beginning. After winning the physical battle, Abram now faces an even greater spiritual test. On his way back, he's met by 2 kings, and each one represents a very different path.
The first man to greet him is one of the most mysterious and significant figures in all of Scripture, Melchizedek. His name means King of Righteousness, and he's the king of Salem, which means peace. But he's more than a king, he's also a priest of God Most High. He holds both royal and spiritual authority. He just appears, no lineage, no history, a truly unique figure.
Melchizedek greets Abram not with demands, but with bread, wine, and this profound blessing. And notice his words. He immediately gives all the credit for the victory to its proper source. He reminds Abram that it was God Most High, the creator of heaven and earth, who delivered his enemies into his hand.
Abram's response is just as profound. In the very first recorded tithe in the Bible, he gives Melchizedek a tenth of all the spoils. Now, this isn't a tax, it's a powerful act of worship. By tithing, Abram is publicly agreeing with Melchizedek, acknowledging that God is the true owner of everything and the real source of his victory.
And this sets up the choice before Abram so perfectly, because as soon as Melchizedek departs, the second king approaches, the king of Sodom, and he offers Abram a deal.
You keep all the stuff, just give me back my people. So you see the contrast? Melchizedek offered spiritual affirmation. The king of Sodom offers worldly wealth.
This is the moment of truth. What Abram does next is going to define his character and set a standard of integrity that will echo for millennia. He makes a vow, choosing to honor the true source of his blessing over the temptation of a worldly reward.
Abram refuses the king of Sodom's offer, down to the last shoelace. And his reason why is just this powerful declaration of trust. He will not allow any man, especially the king of a city known for its wickedness, to ever be able to claim, "I'm the one who made Abram wealthy." No, Abram's provider is God, and he will not let anyone else take that glory.
Abram's decision here is just a masterclass in faith. He actively rejects wealth that's tied to a corrupt source. He fiercely protects God's glory over his own personal gain. He demonstrates absolute trust that God, not kings, not armies, is his provider. And in doing so, he forges this legacy of incredible, unwavering integrity. And so, this ancient story leaves us with a very modern question. In our own lives, when we experience success, a promotion, a victory, big or small, who gets the credit? Abram's story challenges us to look beyond our own efforts, our own smarts, and to honor the ultimate source of all our blessings. It's a powerful lesson on faith in the face of power.